morning, good afternoon, good evening, Jar of Marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles. I hope that this podcast finds you well and that your week's been a good one and that you are looking forward to sitting back and listening to me waffling on about something else. Well, you know what? It could be a subject of interest and I hope that it is. And this week I want to talk about Queenagers. Now, depending on who you talk to, they could say, well, isn't a queenager, someone that's trying to be something they're not? Well, good luck. I hope that you are, and why not, I say. But once upon a time, once you got to a certain age, in your 50s or 60s, you were known as a senior citizen. I mean, who come up with these labels? But that's okay. Look, honestly, if that's thing and, you're quite happy to be a senior citizen, that's great. But I personally like the idea of being a queenager because you're your own boss, aren't you? You're not answerable to anybody. You probably have your own car and home. You've got money in the bank. You come and go as you please. You enjoy yourself with the vim and the excitement and the naivete, well, probably not so much the naivete, of a teenager. So this is what I would like to be. This place here is sort of like, what would you say, Queenagers headquarters. Yes, I love the sound of that so much. Anyway, I'm so glad that you've come along and I hope that you enjoy it. Let's go. Hashtag Queenager headquarters. Depending on who you talk to, I could be vixen or vintage. Either way, I'm happy to rock either or both. Labels do not factor in reality, and certainly not how I feel about myself. Tongue-in-cheek, one day I think, oh, who are you, you little vixen, looking back at me in the mirror. And other days I go, oh, there she goes. Who the hell's that vintage version of myself in the reflection? The interesting thing is vixen and vintage are just fine. One day you see yourself aging. There is, without a doubt, that slow, ever slow changing version of yourself happening before your very eyes. So you see yourself in the physical and then one day you just see it. It can be a bit of a shock, not because you didn't think that it would actually happen, but because there is that looking at yourself square in the eye reality. Literally, the day arrives, most of us want to look our best and feel attractive, without a doubt. And I find that I'm continuing to enjoy and changing up how I dress to express myself in a different way. I believe it is important to say that my motivations are completely different and it is not to please anyone but myself. It's great that someone thinks that you're looking a bit of all right, but even better when you feel fabulous and for different reasons, and one of those is the privilege of still being here. Not to sound morbid, but when you become aware of shuffling off this mortal coil, it starts to feel like you're beating time somehow. I have become conscious of every day, and some days try to drink in my daughters, my grandchildren as they're talking to me, knowing that one day, and we don't know when, there will be a final conversation. Makes me shudder in my very nice shoes. Now that we've got the dying and the impending end sorted, spoken about and faced, the next thing is how it feels to be a queenager. I am a woman with life experience who knows how to have fun. Anyone who knows me knows this to be true. It all depends, I suppose, on what your idea of fun is too. But it is a correct name or noun for senior women, a queenager. We don't ever get grounded and our parents are usually 6 feet under. So, no punishments ensue. We don't borrow anyone's car and we have our own bank accounts, so we don't hear no often. And what is there not to like about that? Let me tell you, old school rocks. Actually, I might do a podcast on old school. Anyway, I digress. You digress. That's right, Bob. Now, as a queenager, I can look back at my teen years and I have clear memories. And I also have a lot of blurry ones too. Whenever I had got together with people I've known over the years and we've gone back, on down memory lane and then it's at that moment that I realised that there's so many things that I just can't remember. They have to fill in the gaps. And I've sworn black and blue that I wasn't there in some scenarios, not because I didn't believe them, but because I have next to no memory of so much. Back in the day, there were not a lot of photographs taken. when we're at parties and out the river and at pubs. So, bits and pieces here and there, but nothing like, what people have to endure today. So when we're at nightclubs and dinner parties and whatsoever. So there's really little evidence to copy and paste in the many gaps. I had way too much freedom as a teenager. As a 14-year-old, I was out and about most nights of the week, gone for weekends, and no one noticed that I wasn't home. I have often looked back so very grateful that I rarely fell into harm's way, and I always seemed to be around mostly really good people. I did have some close calls, but looking back, I was very streetwise and somehow knew how to lay low, read a room and be invisible. I think when you're starting out life very, very young, you do tend to naturally develop these and hone these types of skills. 14 was a huge year for me. Aside taking the lead role in a high school rock opera, I was in an exceptionally unhealthy relationship that I had no business being in. I also ran away from home for 9 days in a city over 100 kilometres away. Looking back, I didn't even know I was alive. I was a 14-year-old girl who decided she was going to hitchhike 2 hours up the coast to Christchurch to start a new life. I had drawn a picture of what my apartment was going to look like, the furniture I would buy, and all this from the job that I was going to get. I didn't know, though, that no landlord was going to, rent out a place to a kid. And because I'd been working since I was 13, I had already started buying my own shoes. I bought my first pair of Levi's and clothes. I also paid for a holiday for myself and my bestie. So I had already started thinking ahead, if you don't mind. I love these memories because now as a Queenager, I can love my spunk and tenacity from a distance. I had plans and it never occurred to me that I would fail. Partly that would have to be naivete, but the other part was the same juice that I tapped into when I started my own businesses or travelled around Australia and overseas with my children. I wonder sometimes if she is still there, or maybe more to the point, will I utilise that juice in the coming days or years? Maybe I'm utilising that juice now. I don't know. Quite often, haven't you not noticed that, we reflect on our past or, we are able to see clearly, what we have actually done and not realised, that it's actually a good job, well done. And when I started my first takeaway cafe, I didn't know how to cook. But through tenacity and asking a lot of questions, Google didn't exist, I worked out how to cook, and further to that, started inventing my own recipes. When I was a little girl around 9 years old, my little sister had a 20-key mini grand yellow piano, and on it I would write my first songs. One was called Love and the other was called Bubbles in the Air, still as fresh in my mind. I have created and done other things, but my most recent was deciding to start a podcast and learn the many moving parts to make it happen. And on top of that, importantly, make the audio really good. I have asked a lot of questions, had the full support from my daughter Carla, who set me up and created a logo for the Jar of Marbles. Thank you, Carla. Absolutely love the logo, darling. And answered many questions. A lot I had to work out for myself because as Carla told me, she went, Mum, I don't know anything about podcasts, even though we started a podcast together, but ultimately I really had to do the work, and it was actually the best thing ever. It was a twofold win. The first one was if I was genuinely committed to it, I would learn as much as I could. Thank you, YouTube. I watched endless tutorials months before starting because I honestly did not know what was involved. The second thing was creating content on a regular basis. I rediscovered my love of writing content. Every week meant I had to commit to being consistent on a weekly basis, and hopefully it would be received as interesting. As a Queenager, I ask myself, what do I have to gain? It's quite akin to a dream some of us have had where we find ourselves naked. That is what it's like for me when I upload yet another podcast. It is, here we go, Linda girl, no turning back now. I tell you this because if you are considering giving something a shot, do it. The worst that will happen is it won't work out. And so try something else or try it again. I figured that I wanted to get my work, myself out there. And if I expect the magic juice to take flight, I have to be out there And this is out there. I've seen it many times in my life, but now I am far more conscious of it and want to share it with the hope that these words could get you heading in a far more interesting direction and for you to feel excited about your creativity in whatever form that is. There is a magic. It is not taught at schools, so therefore it cannot exist. Rubbish! That's right, Bob. I say magic. You might want to call it something else. I don't wish to get caught up in semantics, but it's that feeling of there is something more out there for you, and when you think about it, follow it. And then you do in some way, in the smallest way, the universe or life or however you think of it conspires for things to show up in 3D in your day today. I remember writing decades ago about that invisible path and I would randomly at times think about things I would like to happen, and sometimes it just did not happen at all. And I would ask myself, what am I doing wrong? And now that I am at a safe distance from those days, I can see that I was yearning for that which was familiar, and in reality, it wasn't there anymore. That was a tough lesson. I think I had been very spoiled in the things that did come to fruition and figured that those things would just happen too. Also, I see it as the ultimate protection that I had received surreptitious warnings from people that, for whatever reason, could not be frank with me, for it would have meant that they would have had to reveal their sources or the truth of their lives. I look back and I'm thankful that I still gave different ideas a go, that I am unconventional in many ways, and that still serves me well. Have you ever seen yourself in real time acting completely not yourself and saying things that are not you and behaving in a way that even in your own mind you're asking yourself, what the hell's going on? I see that as protection. At the time, it can leave a bad taste in your mouth, but none of it was meant for me, no matter how much I thought it was.
None of it was meant for you. You knew none of it was meant for you, but you went for it anyway.
Oh, be quiet, Bob. What would you know? You're not even real. Anyway, Bob has an opinion, and I think everyone's actually entitled to their opinion. But anyway, moving on. I know that what I was talking about before about how you can find yourself saying and agreeing to things or going against everything that makes you you. And sometimes it's because you're in the company of someone that you don't really know or you want to know them, but it's confusing and you kind of know that you're not supposed to be there, but you are anyway. I know that you know what I'm talking about, and those can be just such horrible experiences in life where you're just not where you're supposed to be. And as a Queenager, I understand what it takes for someone to be kind and generous. I understand pain and sitting with it. I am friends with humour and ridiculousness, and I am sold completely on love. As a Queenager, I am also a believer in the thoughts I tell myself. That can also go against me. But anyway, we are the direct byproduct of the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves. So if you're telling yourself good thoughts and not giving in or up and staying the course, your life will change and grow. I love seeing the growth in my life. I love seeing the growth in my friends' and family's lives. It makes me feel brand new, and that is a very cool way to live, especially because it is up to me. And as I have said before on other podcasts, I trust myself and I don't make a habit of letting myself down. The fun things of growing older, especially when the changes started coming on, menopause, for example, I really felt an urge to sing it then. I really should have, like 3-part harmony. It kind of crept up on me and hung around for a while, and then it left. I even threw a party. I was so pleased. Bye-bye.
See you, menopause.
Here, don't forget your hat. Now, funny and odd things can happen, like a random hair growing out of your face, a pure white one that is as strong as steel. I imagined it would be just great to make a bridge with. It was so damn strong and it didn't come out easily. I kind of found it funny as I had to wonder how long it'd been there poking people's eyes out unknowingly. You go to take the hair off your lapel only to find it's attached to your chin or your chest. I love telling my daughters these stories and more. They're a little horrified, but I can. These things and more make me giggle, not kiddle. make me giggle, by telling them that they have so much to look forward to. Non-life-threatening growths appear. At a distance, they look like a freckle, but on closer inspection, they look like they need their own name. It is not the first time I have placed a pair of reading glasses on top of the reading glasses that I already have on my face. I have had mismatched socks, then gone to change them and still ended up with mismatched socks. I've done the same with earrings. When I think on it, I have always done kooky things and found it amusing. But as you get older, you really have to keep that humour. It could be, way too easy to blame getting older as to the reason why odd things occur. Style knows no age. I love the wit and wisdom of older women. It rings of the best is yet to come. It feels true. You're aiming for different things. You can get married again if you choose, but not having babies. You have a freedom to really be and do who you are in all the colours. It's a full sense of enjoying the here and now as an incredible gift. Yesterday is gone and tomorrow, well, who cares? I know that I have gathered strength over the years. I've earned them. I own them all. They are all mine, embracing all the valuable experiences and lessons from over the years. I'm genuinely excited to see what each year brings because this time last year, I did not have my own weekly podcast. As Cher said, I do think that when it comes to aging, we're held to a different standard than men. Some guy said, don't you think you're too old to be singing rock and roll? And she said, well, you better check with Mick Jagger. Boom! You're never too old to make a unique mark in your world. I have no plans to slow down, and interestingly, I now am living the dream, which is a creative life. It feels like a dream come true to be able to do pretty much what I want. I have earned my stripes. I get to decide how I want to, spend my days. As I say to my reflection in the mirror, geez, you're still hot, but then I flick my long hair out of the way and put on a pair of glasses on top of my glasses I already have in my face. You hear sayings like 50 is the new 30. To me, it's like 60 is the new chapter. I heard myself say the other day, I'm 60, but I identify as 45 for jokes. And I thought, yeah, I like that. It's the busting up of those typecasts of what you should look like and be in your 60s.
I say bollocks.
I say bollocks too, Bob. Good on you. Breaking the so-called rules and defying the stereotypes is a very cool activity. The only alternative to being a queenager is no longer being on the planet at all. It may seem like a bold statement, but they serve as a reminder to be grateful for all the moments. In truth, we are attractive for all our ages. There's no specific age where you're no longer attractive. It is a mindset and not getting caught up in nonsense thinking. As George Bernard Shaw, who famously declared that youth is wasted on the young, that does not necessarily suggest old Georgie was right, just as not allowing the wisdom of age be wasted on the old. Interesting thoughts, if nothing else. Queenagers are hardcore, super cool chicks, and it is a buzz to be saying this and meaning every word of it. I'd love for the Queenagers listening to this podcast to leave a note so I know that you're here. Just say hi. Tell me where you're from. We Queenagers, elders, have had to rise above seemingly insurmountable obstacles, tough times. Many of us taught ourselves to survive. More than that, thrive. Have I listened to the naysayers? I think the end result would have been a sorry one had I listened to them. Many of us are not followers and do not, it would seem, take the easy path. But it is the correct one because on that road, you truly live your life lessons and have a deep understanding of the honour code. That is when you learn to dig deep in your soul, in your intentions, for the courage and the fortitude to keep going. Breaking generational curses has been a major theme in my life when I've had to walk away from toxic families while raising 3 children single-handedly. Consciously knowingly, I had to change the accepted influences over time. It became clearer and monumentally obvious that I had made the right decision. As I got older, the perpetrators got older and had not changed their behaviours. In fact, dug their heels in with their lies. Everyone knows they are lying, but it's just one of those front seat shit shows where you go, well, I see you, wouldn't want to be you. Looking back over the last 30 years of my life, and during that time, like most of us, have done so much. And I look forward to the next 30 years. They're going to be sensational. They are sensational. I wonder what else I will do, because while I do not know my next moves, I know me well enough to know I will be doing something new and challenging and enjoyable. Point is, there is no time to give up and stop living and achieving and enjoying yourself. As a budding queenager with her own home and car and some coins in her purse, I am kind to myself. And then anything less than that out in the world stands out. With my unguaranteed 30 years ahead, I have zero space for nonsense. I do, however, have all the time in the world to keep trying to expand and grow. It's important to have a loving, fun relationship with yourself. After I clean my teeth in the morning, I lean forward to the mirror and I say, pretty bitch. It feels good and it feels light. I'm not doing any heavy lifting when it comes to supporting myself in a queenager manner. I just now and then just like to laugh like that. You know why? Because I can. Anyway, I love being my own woman and I trust myself, so I am sure I'm in good hands. I am the best friend that you could ever hope for, but you have to have a good, kind respect for yourself, otherwise it gets messy. You feel me? It is true that some people will take these words and it will make them uncomfortable, but if nothing else, please take away the idea that you are worthwhile and deserve to be happy. All I'm saying is I'm not waiting on confirmation from anyone else, unless, of course, another person wants to lift me up, then, hey, that's beautiful. I don't know how to be anything else but myself. And, it really is a queenager thing too. I'm presenting myself bare, here, with the intention that, I don't want to see you fall through the tracks and I don't want to see you believing the BS. I'm grabbing hold of your hand and I'm cheering you on. And this is what I do for myself. I just cheer myself on. And you'll never regret it. And you should never lose sight of who you are. And I think, we all do at various stages of our lives. Confident women, including confident queenagers, do not hate. We celebrate. And that is the truth. I just haven't got the time or the energy that it would take to, try and hate somebody. That's just most unfortunate. And have you noticed that when a woman, regardless of age, height, build, if she is smiling and enjoying herself, holding her head high, don't you just feel that vibe? That's beauty right there. And I would love to see more of it. I love seeing that. I have to keep my composure. I want to stand and applaud her. In my mind, I'm thinking, yes, sister, you go, girl. Now, to me, that's a vibe. I love this quote from Meryl Streep. I think the best role models for women are people who are fruitfully and confidently themselves, who bring light into the world. Research shows, that's the end of the quote there, but research shows that we gain confidence by seeing others succeed. Why? Because it shifts the brain into believing that we can be successful too. Don't you love that? A final note. We beg women to love themselves and we tell confident women to calm down. So much to say, but look, it's the end of another podcast, Linda. Oh, is it? Yes, it is. Now, look, I've got to run. Wishing you a fabulous week ahead. Say good day to the family and the cockatoo for me, and I'll be seeing you next time. Okay, bye.